Right, welcome to Electron Affairs Academy. I'm very excited to be here with you once again, and we are here to impact knowledge as we always have. If you are new to the channel, please click on the subscribe button to get more notifications and details about us and our other content that are coming up. Right. So I want to use the opportunity to announce that in the month of June, we'll be having our 1 year anniversary. Uh, so we'll be hosting it with a crypto festival, right? It's called a crypto fest, the Electron Effects Crypto Fest, right? So we'll be delving into crypto, right? So we'll be teaching crypto from scratch for those of you that are new, how to trade it and all of that. So that's will be for now. That's all for now. I will communicate further as time progresses, right? It'll be towards the end of the month, in the month of June, right? So we're here to discuss lower time frame entries, right? This is a problem that so many traders are having, right? They don't know how to make entries on the lower time frame, right? So we're here to address how to make entries on the lower time frame, right? So there's I will just teach you just one basic way, right? Just one basic one, which is just one way to make entries on the lower time frame, and that's what I call. There are other ways, but I will teach only one just for this video, and that's what I call the redistribution and reaccumulation confirmation, right? So the redistribution and reaccumulation confirmation. And so I use for lower time frame entries, right? You can call it the distribution and lower, sorry, there should be a slash there, not, right? So the reaccumulation and redistribution confirmation, that's what I basically use for lower time frame entries most often than not. So these are the easiest of them all. So we'll just be teaching this. So reaccumulation and redistribution confirmation. So we use for lower time frame entries, right? So I'll be using Richard on the video, so I will just be using a brief analogy to explain this. So now let us just highlight two different candles. So we have a black line, sorry, and then we have the red line, right? So I was using this to explain this. Right? So I'm coloring this differently. Sorry, let me undo that so we can have a better explanation on that. So I'm making this red. So I can have an idea of what I want to do now. So let's make this red. Right. This is red. Right. So let's add a text to by the side. So the black one is the D1. Right. So let's say H4, the 4-hour time frame. Right. The H4. Right. Black line is the H4, and then we have the red line as the 15 minutes time frame, which is the lower time frame, right? So I'll just clone this, right? So just clone it and edit it, right? Change the color and all of that. So we have this and this. So we can edit this and have our 15 minutes time frame. Then we also change the color and make it red as well, right? So we have red. So the red line is 15 minutes and 4 hours. So the higher time frame, based on what I'm about to teach you guys, is the 4-hour time frame, and the smaller time frame is 15 minutes time frame, right? So now let us use an analogy to explain the lower time frame, which is called the distribution and reaccumulation confirmation, right? So now on the H4, which is the black line, so assume that we had a price making a series of higher highs and higher lows, breaking structure and going upwards, right? So now after market has made a higher high and higher low, so we can have we can just see our structural point. So we have our higher high, right? So we have our, I want to make it simple, our higher high and higher low. So it's our higher high and our higher low, right? So I'll make this black so I can understand this. So we have our higher high and our higher low. So the market was making higher highs and higher lows, right? On the 4-hour time frame, right? So we have our higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, right? So let's simply close this up here. Go to back. So we have our higher high and our higher low, right? So is it? We have a bullish time frame. So now, for a market to break structure, the market should not get below the last high. If you have not understood this concept, I would like to go to my previous video where I talked about market structure remastered. I did a part 1 and 2 series on that. So you can just go and watch the video on market structure remastered. Right, so this is the structure of the market, have a higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, and then you have what we call the break of structure, meaning that price was able to go below this last higher low, giving us a weak to strong hands transfer, right? So the market has changed structure. So now we have what we call the pre-construction. So we can highlight this with an arrow to signify that there's now a pre-construction. So you can also label this. You can use the call out button to okay, so right. So this will have a call out now. Right, you can call this BOS or just a change of character, right? A break of structure, right? So I have our break of structure at this point here, and all of that. So I'll call it our break of structure at this point here. You can bring this here to highlight that there was a break of structure at this point, right? So when we see a BOS, we are looking to do what? We're looking to do what? We're looking to what? To sell, right? So we make this black. Right, so we have a break of structure at this point here, because why price was able to go below the last higher low, so we have a BOS. Now that means that we are looking to sell at a retracement. So we can break out of Fibonacci 2. I'm trying to take this step by step. So we can now break up Fibonacci 2 and then drop from the swing high to the swing low. We're looking at for a sell around there. So now let's assume that in our discounts, our premium level, we had a kind of order block here, or maybe a smart money institutional candle, right? So institutional candle usually they take out stop loss and then reverse. So let's assume we're going to play an institutional candle around there, right? Maybe somewhere around there. Okay. So we're looking at for to sell here. So because the market is no longer bullish, right? It has automatically become bearish. So looking at for what is sell in this region, right? So now the market now comes into this on the H4, right? Now we are done with the H4. We cannot make an entry with the H4 time frame because the stop loss will be considerably too high. So what do? We scale down to the small time, which is the red line, 15 minutes. Now on the 15 minutes time frame, what are you expecting to see on the 15 minutes? So I'm changing the color of this now. Now this is what we call the confirmation. So now when price gets here, you cannot just use a limit here or just sell anyhow. You want to see the market confirm to you that all right, I'm ready to go down lower, right? So you want to see the market at this region in your higher time frame bias. That means you don't just look out for this on the bigger time frame alone, right? You want to see this thing play out on the smaller time frame, right? So now you're inside your higher time frame. That means you have captured this whole zone as your point of interest on the H4 time frame, right? Now you want to enter, but you can't use H4 because the stop loss is considerably so large, and you want to enter with a smaller stop loss, right? So you now have your H4 POI, the point of interest. So what do you want to see? You want to see the markets come into this region, give you a high, a low, a high, and then a break, right? You want to see this same thing play. That means you saw it, so you can come here and call what a break or structure, right? So you want to see the smaller time frame give another break or structure on inside your higher time frame perspective, right? So now you have a smaller time frame break or structure, right? So you have this what we call the confirmation, right? So you have the market give you a high, low, high, and then a break or structure. So now when you have this, you now have the exact point of entry, right? So you're also no longer looking for here for sell. So when you see this happen, what do? You now refine your entry. You cannot remove this whole box, right? You can still mark a line to signify your POI on the small time frame. So you cannot use this. You can see clearly. But now you now do this. So you have your POI. This is the H4 POI. Now, since you have the lower time frame redistribution, right, or reaccumulation, it's basically the same thing. It's called a redistribution on the smaller time frame. I mean, on the for a sell, then for a buy, we call it reaccumulation confirmation, right? So now we have this on your small time frame. What do? You now highlight the small time frame point of interest, right? You can see how you have reduced your stop loss. That means you're no longer going to have all this whole drawdown. You have refined the entry from having this whole drawdown to a year. This now becomes the area of interest, this region here. So now you have reduced your stop loss. You now have a confirmation, right? So instead of having your stop loss, your entry here and stop loss all the way here. Look at the last draw you have encountered, right? So now you have a small time frame stop loss because you waited for confirmation, you waited for the distribution confirmation, right? So now you have your POI. What do? Wait for price to get into the last bullish candle or the last supply demand. I'm going to teach that, and then what do? You sell inside it. So when the price is that, you can simply put your sell limits at this point here at the last bullish candle or whatever you however you trade, right? So you can see this. I'll show you one example and then we put it to the right. So you can put your entry here and your stop loss here, right? So what do you want to see? You want to see price come to activate you and then run all the way. And what do you target? You target the H4 low, right? So you're usually stop shortly, right? So then you can target the H4 low for your your take profits, right? So you don't make you know that sometimes the price creates double bottoms and double tops and all of that. So now you have your entry. What do? You wait for price to come into here, activates you, maybe you enter that down there, right? And then you take price where lower. So this is how to make. So have you seen how you have reduced your stop loss, right? This thing happens on any time frame. It could be 5 minutes, it could be 10 minutes, it could be 3 minutes, whatever time frame it is. Because I want to warn that sometimes small time frame can be tricky, right? So you can see this player and takes you out, and then sometimes market may do that. So sometimes on the maybe on the 1 minute time frame, you can see price something like this. Maybe come to your POI, give higher high, higher low, higher high, give a POS, and then still take you out instead of reducing and coming down, takes you out from another higher high, then does this again, then does this, and then eventually gives the final POS, and then when you enter this, you enter and take price lower. So sometimes market does this, right? So I just want to show you that sometimes market does this, just plays this trade, or maybe on a 1 minute time frame, you can see higher high, higher low, higher your POS, you're looking to sell, market takes you out, gives another higher high, higher low, and then another POS, and finally this one may play out. So this is enough foolproof, right? I don't show one example and then you can take price lower. So we have seen what we're looking at. So this is how to make your entry on the lower time frame. So we just look at one example and then we connect it. Let's look at I called this way for my students, my mentees at Electric Face Academy. Right, so let's go to jump 50. Right, I trace that this is a loss, so let's go to jump 50. Right, so look at the 4-hour time frame, and then we can now analyze this, right? How we made this entry. This beautiful entry because it's an amazing trade, right? So now look at the structure of this market. You can see that you must do this in line with the bigger time frame. You can see that there was you can see that the market was kind of bearish. You can see the market forming a bearish structure. I'll be kind of fast now. So you can see the market is giving us a kind of bearish structure, low, all of that. So you can see the market clearly gave the POS, right? So we had a high here, and then a low. So we had so looking at this, we had a higher low because we had a pre-construction here. Market obviously cleared our last lower high. It was around there. As you can see, there was a pre-construction here. Market came, gave a higher low and made a higher high. So you can see the market made a higher high at this point here. Had our higher high here, and our higher low, and then our higher high. So we're looking at for a buy inside the demand zone or whatever, right? So I want to point out something now. This was a kind of wipe off schematics, right? So the market if schematic, you can see our select climbers, automatic rally, ST, you can see the spring, and then we had LPS and all of that, our test and all of that. So you can see that this was our last higher low. So now we have seen our higher time frame bias. So now we want to make our entries using this information, right? So we came here. Here is our trading range. We mark our trading range right from this point, from here, right? Our trading range now, we marked it from here to here. So looking at for buys since the market was bullish on the 4-hour, right? So we saw this, and then we're looking at for buy ideas inside where the H4 point of interest, which is the point of interest inside this H4 period. So what did we do? We went to the 15 minutes time frame. Right? I'm not saying that it must be 15 minutes. You can go to 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I'll still show you this 10 minutes, right? So what the 15 minutes time frame, right? So we're now price goes to our point of interest, right? So what the price go to a higher time frame point of interest, and then what did I see? So the market's doing the same thing. Market was bearish in the 15 minutes time frame. So this, I saw a market create low, a low. We saw this, okay. So the obvious low, can delete this. This was invalid. So you can remove this. So let us continue. Let's just leave that. So we're looking at the structure of the market. We saw a lower high, and then we saw a lower low here. Right, this was lower than this low. We had another lower high here. We had a lower low. Right. So all of that. We had a lower high, low. We had a lower low here. Let me zoom in so you can see this thing clearly. Right. So look at how we call this trade idea. Right. So I want to say how we call this trade idea in 15 minutes time frame. Right. Which is what I just taught you. Right. So we had the lower low here. So look at this now. Market gave lower high, lower low, and then we had our lower low here. Yes, and then our low. This was our final low, and then as you can see, we had a very clear break of structure on the 15 minutes time frame, right? So I'm just going to see how this will play out. Right, so we had our lower time frame POS here. So we can highlight this, we can arrow to signify that there was a POS here. So we saw break of structure because why price took out the last lower high, right? So if you want to understand more about POS, watch my videos on market structure. So we saw break or structure. So now we had our view. So I told you we should target the last sell candles or all of that. So we're targeting this last sell candle, right? So this was the last sell candle. As you can see, market came perfectly tapped into it. Let's just remove this first. Let's remove this. So our limits should be where put our limits were at the last sell candle, right? Maybe at the upper week or whatever high we want to reach. So we had our limits here, and the stop loss were below the low, right? So we had our limits here, we stop loss just below the low. Once we set this in played out without guesswork, so you can see that there was we put our limits at this point here. The stop loss below this low, and you can see price activated us and it's bounced massively. Our first TP should have been where at this new high that was forming. You can see our high here, market is blasted to and then you can see market is coming back down, right? So you can see how this thing played out so nicely. It was a very beautiful trade idea and all of that. So you can see it was a very this gave about 1:1. Let's see the risk reward ratio on this. This gave let's see the total reward on this. This gave 1:12. 1:12 or more than that. Because 1:13 trade. So if risking 10%, you have made 130%. This would have been more than double of your account. And this was amazing. This was an amazing trade. Beautiful trade idea and all that. So I will see my next video. On my mentorship program is still ongoing. It goes for just a token of $60 and we'll teach you how we trade from basics. If you have something with trading, I promise you you see the results. So you can join my Telegram channel to see my student past performance. I know that you may want to see performance, right? The best way to know who to register for mentorship is to check their past performance. So join my Telegram channel to see my student performance, all of that. So see you in the next video. Have a wonderful day. Cheers and God bless. Shout out to Tony Blair. Shout out to Anson X. Shout out to Rock Office Academy. I learned a lot of this from them. And shout out to my boss, Tolu, and Atawelo, all of that. So have a wonderful day. See you in the next video.